It's also just a new whole order. Nobody can really fight it, and it's completely different than our order.
The Bohemian Club, as you say, the Bohemian Club? That's where all those rich Republicans go up and stand naked against redwood trees, right? I've never been to the Bohemian Club, but you ought to go. It'd be good for you. Get some fresh air.
And if Washington doesn't have enough to talk about these days, the Washington Times reported today that unidentified White House aides in the Carter, Reagan, and Bush administrations now are being investigated for using the services of a call boy ring. The paper reports that 2 of the male prostitutes were given a late-night tour of the White House last year. The White House press secretary, Marlin Fitzwater, said he knew nothing of this investigation. NBC's Lisa Myers reports her sources in the U.S. Attorney's Office say the investigation is not focusing on prostitution, but on fraud involving the use of credit cards to pay for the call boy services.
This powerful men's-only club has been meeting for the last 133 years. Even the idea for the Manhattan Project, which led to the creation of the atom bomb, came out of the Grove in 1942. Pretty powerful stuff, but who actually attends? The gathering is packed with oil tycoons, politicians, business leaders, and foreign diplomats who all make the pilgrimage to this yearly Redwood campout. Presidents Nixon, Reagan, and George W. Bush all attended the Grove before they graced the Oval Office. Even media bigwigs are a staple, with the likes of the Hearst dynasty and Walter Cronkite, now replaced with Rupert Murdoch and CEOs from CNN and LA Times. So if the media is there, Americans should know all about what's going on, right? So have you heard of Bohemian Grove?
I have not.
Not really.
No, not at all. I don't have a clue. No.
No, I'm afraid I don't.
The world's most powerful players get together and discuss policy, party, and also do mock sacrificial rituals together.
Oh, no. That's basically first news that I heard about it.
They sacrifice a coffin effigy to a giant 40-foot owl.
So it's kind of like a modern-day Stonehenge.
I don't think it's cool at all. I don't think it's on. No.
If that truly does take place, I think it's great.
That's scary. That's really scary. I did hear they were talking about like a new world order in like 2 years, something like that. Maybe that's what they're planning.
It's also just a new whole order. Nobody can really fight it, and it's completely different than our order.
What do they do that's not supposed to be published? So, no, I think definitely the public is supposed to know what's going on there.
For sure, I should know if the media will show it in the TV or newspapers, but unfortunately, no.
They were taking children out of Boys Town orphanages and foster homes and driving them to Sioux City, Iowa, 184 miles away, placing them in private jets, flying them to Washington, D.C. for sex orgies with congressmen, senators, and dignitaries. And I've covered that in my intelligence report, by the way. So what does that mean? Well, a guy named Rusty Nelson was taking pictures of them while they were doing this sort of thing. And Rusty would take a picture of them for them, because they kept track of the film, and then he would sneak his own film in, because he figured he'd need insurance down the road, and he was right. And so he had these pictures of these dignitaries who were involved in these nefarious sexual activities. Congressmen, senators, as I said. Now, Rusty was asked to participate in a sexual act with a man, and he wasn't any part of that. So he went out a bathroom window in a motel and made his way back to Norfolk, Nebraska. And his granddad had an old a farm there that was abandoned, and he stayed on the farm for a while. And the FBI came around to Rusty's parents, and the mother very naively said, "Oh, Rusty's over at such and such a farmhouse." The FBI went over and interviewed Rusty at the farmhouse, and Rusty says it's time to take off, and he took off, of course. Now, before this happened, during the investigation, Gary Caradora was an investigator for the Senate committee, Schmidt and DeCamp. And he made contact with Rusty. Rusty was in Arizona. And Rusty said, "Meet me in Chicago." He didn't want to meet Gary Caradora in Phoenix. And so he met him in Chicago, Gary did. And Rusty turned over the pictures of him having sex with some of these dignitaries in Washington, D.C., senators, congressmen, so what? White House people, okay? Use your own imagination. And Gary Caradori made the mistake of calling Lawrence Schmidt, I have the smoking gun. He had his own airplane, and that night after the All-Star game, he had his 12-year-old boy with him. They got in Gary's plane, and over Aurora, Illinois, the plane exploded. Gary died. Pictures were all over the place. First person at the scene was the sheriff, deputy sheriff. He picked up the pictures. The FBI agent came along, grabbed the picture and said, keep your mouth shut. He apparently didn't keep his mouth shut because a year later his wife was murdered, by the way. The farmer said that he saw an explosion, and the government said that the plane just fell apart. Okay. The rear seat was never recovered. Gary Caradori's briefcase was never recovered, and the pictures, who knows what the FBI did with them. I did everything I could to get my hands on that airplane. And I was going to have it examined by a forensic specialist, because if there was a bomb on that plane, a forensic expert could tell you that there was a bomb and they could classify the bomb. I couldn't get the plane because it was being held in a military base. Now, why would the military take a plane being flown by a civilian and take control of it?
I know you consider yourself a Catholic, but what happens when you worship Moloch at the Bohemian Grove? New York Post says that male prostitutes are shipped into the Bohemian Grove. Can you tell us what happens there?
You actually believe all this junk?
Bill Clinton said that Republicans run around naked in the woods there.
As you say, the Bohemian Club? Yeah. That's where all those rich Republicans go up and stand naked against redwood trees, right?
And you don't want to know what Richard Nixon said about the place.
The Bohemian Grove that I attend, one time at a time, the Easterners and the others that come there, but it is the most faggy goddamn thing you will ever imagine in San Francisco crowd, because it's just terrible. I mean, I don't want to shake hands with anybody in San Francisco.
That's the place you attended. It's a secret society. Can you tell us at least who invited you?
You know, it's nice to know that there's some people who have fantasy lives that have nothing to touch with. Nice to have had you here. Bye-bye.
You can't answer the question?
Bye-bye.
You can't? Can you answer the question?
See you later.
One last question. I read a Washington Times article many years ago where you had a comment about the organization, and then now it's been in the Wall Street Journal, it's been in a lot of different newspapers, and that's the Bohemian Grove. And back in, what was it, 1996, when you joined as a Clinton advisor, the Republicans were criticizing you, oh, what about Bohemian Grove? And then you countered them by saying, hey, I don't run around in the woods naked. What did that mean? Here is the before-mentioned Washington Times article where he said, I didn't run around naked like they do.
I don't know what quote you're referring to. I'm not aware of any quote like that. Listen, I am a happy member of the Bohemian Grove. I like the folks who come there, and it's really inappropriate for me to talk about the group beyond that. Thank you. Have you been there for the ceremony with the cremation of care? Frankly, I don't think that's something I need to talk to you about.
Great owl of Bohemia, we thank thee for thy adjuration.
Have you been there for the ceremony with the cremation of care?
Frankly, I don't think that's something I need to talk to you about.
Really?
That's right.
Well, I'm Alex Jones, and I snuck in there in 2000. I'm the guy that blew it wide open and got the video. It's been on national TV.
Well, I disrespect you for that.
You do?
I do.
But it's a lot of big public officials going in there. Don't we deserve to know?
I don't know anything about you, and I don't know anything about your film. But if you go in there with an understanding, you violated that understanding by releasing that film, and I don't respect you for that.
Really? But we have public officials.
I'm sorry. You took an understanding when you went in there that you would not do that film. And did you have an understanding when you went in there?
No.
Did you crash it?
Yes.
Yeah, and it has no trespassing signs there too, doesn't it?
No, they put them up after.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sir. I've been there before. I know what the circumstances are, and I'm sorry you violated the understandings. That was not a gentlemanly thing to do.
But what about the ritual? Is the ritual genuinely?
Sir, everything. I don't owe you this comment.
I know.
This is what's called ambush journalism, and I disrespect you for that as well. So thank you
ever
and goodbye.
been in the ritual?
It's none of your damn business.
Oh,
that's right.
I worked here for 11 years and educated myself.
What do they think of us?
Well,
expendable fodder units is what they're
the truth is, when you're quiet and you listen, you learn. And around these people, the quieter you are, the more you learn. And when you're a semi-intelligent person with integrity, you know when you're being taken, but you're quiet and you listen. You keep your enemies close.
That's right.
Man, I got to tell you though that the sheriff department's gonna know me. Okay. Okay. So I knew about the cloning of sheep before it happened. Years. I knew about HIV and mosquitoes years before they knew about.
Why they tell
because the old men they get freaked out and they have these big conferences with the head, health people of the world. I was friends with the paramedics. But I'm really happy this day has come. I've been wanting it for a really long time. I could tell you that they refer to everybody outside the club as little men. Every single man is a little man unless you're in this club. They are the brainstorm of everything that happens. They are the movers, the shakers. They are.
They need to hear the
when you say it's not a conspiracy, it is. It's really creepy. This used to be considered the armpit of Sonoma County. This is where they kept all the drug addicts. And Starlit Hill is actually called Heroin Hill. Everyone was kept here. Look, I'll tell you this. The small town politics of Sonoma County are totally corrupted by the Bohemian Grove. And it's actually big. It's Napa County. I've met quite a few of these people. The prostitutes, who cares about that? That's sex. But I can tell you this, that every sheriff you see is bought out. They have no integrity. Doesn't matter if you know them on the street and they're nice and they smile at you. When it comes around Bohemian Club, everyone's bought out. These kids that are coming in with red shirts are Sonora, they're just little brats, snot-nosed brats. Sorry. They're coming in because they think someday they're going to be big, and they're not. Well, we all are. There's no one free here. We're all slaves.
These kids, what are they doing there right now?
Well, I mean, I saw Nixon before he died. I've seen them all. They all have to come down to the food court. That's where women are allowed to serve. Except at Northwood, we're allowed to serve if you want,
Women.
Yeah, yeah. Men too. There's men, there's prostitutes here, and there's boys, hot boys. But the main thing is, above all the sex and all that, it's the main objective of controlling the world. And it all happens here. And the police, oh God, someone know me.
You can do it. Waiting for this.
The
world's watching.
They're all bought out and they have no integrity, and shame on them, but I understand they got kids too. We all do, We all do. I do too. I mean, my mom's house is to be torn down in January 1st. So I'm taking a huge risk here. It doesn't, that's not the point. There's underage prostitute. It's always been going on. That's not the point. The point is the big picture, and that's the big news. The banks that got built, everything's been decided here. So I'm really, really glad that people are taking action, and I hope people will reach out and kids will have some integrity and walk out. I didn't, but I learned. I learned a lot. And
you're here today.
I'm here today, and I'm passing it on, and sometimes silence is knowledge. And that's why I'm here right now.
And you're silent no more.
No, I'm not silent anymore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.